Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat back here on this cold Friday. Welcome in from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the fine folks at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. They've got a 0% sales event going on right now. You can get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. It is a Arctic day in central Indiana, at least where I am, 7 degrees. Not much to do out there. I'm going to let that stay as it is. Verdell Jones will be along with us in a little bit. He's running just a little late today. Alec Lasley will join us as well, and we'll see what else we can get scared up. Plenty to talk about. A lot of great games last night. The Indiana football schedule is out. Michigan's makeup games, they're starting to work on that. I'm going to talk to Alec about that. Where does Indiana fit into that? The Colts, Carson Wentz. We were yesterday. We had Matt Taylor on the show with the Colts, and man, as soon as I wish that would have broken just a little bit sooner. We would have had Matt on with us when that happened. But the Colts have a new quarterback. What do you think about that? I know there was a lot of thoughts, people talking about him way before that happened. Most people, I did not see a single person saying, "Yeah, I want that." I saw a lot of people saying, "Yeah, it'd be all right. That's not what I want," and that's basically what they're saying now. I guess we'll make it work. It's not what I wanted, but I think that they got into a position of they were just kind of in no man's land after what happened with Matt Stafford. The only other question I think was from Houston, daggone it, I can't. Clemson quarterback, can't think of his name right now, drawing a blank. But I don't know what the situation was with him, if that they were asking too much or what that was. So we'll never know, or maybe we will one day. But it is what it is. So there's your quarterback if you're a Colts fan, Carson Wentz, going to go forward. So I think the Super Bowl odds changed for the Colts a little bit. I saw that yesterday. Not much. It didn't do much to do that. So. We'll see. Hit us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. We can talk about anything you want today as well. The Indiana basketball schedule, well, that's pretty set, as tomorrow they will take on Michigan State. We'll talk about that as well. Don't forget, after the game with Todd Leary, of course, coming to you live from Yogi's after the Michigan State game. And if you're in the Bloomington area, man, they have Breakfast Club tomorrow. That's one of those things you got to get to early. It's a madhouse, man. People love it. But Michigan State, and we'll talk to Verdell and Alec both about this, but Michigan State is a team that's scary. I was talking with Todd Leary the other night on the post-game show, and they scare him. They scare me because I've been watching it. What's Tom Izzo, for one thing. You got him as a coach, so you're always going to be scared when you're playing against someone that is of that level. They've just been off. They're like a piece short. They're playing hard, they're playing good, but they just can't quite get there. But they're scary, and I'm thinking that they're going to knock somebody off at the end of this year. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament, so their only success is probably going to come from beating somebody. And Indiana's on their list because they're up next. So we'll talk about that. Indiana's schedule, as it lays out after that, is not easy. It is Rutgers, it is Michigan, and it is Purdue. And those are 3 really good teams. Obviously, Michigan's the best out of that group. And I'll be honest with you, Purdue's good, but Rutgers is not bad. Last night, where did they do last night? They were Michigan. No, they were talking that. There you go. They were at Michigan last night. That was a tough game. Michigan wins that game 71-64. But Rutgers battled them. They gave them all they wanted. Michigan's just off a COVID pause, but I think we saw what they did at Wisconsin. That's not having any effect on them. Verdell's joining us here shortly. We'll talk about him about that. Michigan's a team, like I've already said, they're very scary. But Michigan State is a scary team. Verdell, you there?
Yeah, how you doing, John?
Pretty good, brother. How are you? I was talking about Michigan State, Indiana taking them on this weekend. They're a team that scares me. They've not played up to their standards this year, but I think they're a piece short. But they've been scrapping. They've been trying to get there, and they're not going to make the tournament. So their only joy is going to come from beating somebody. And I'm like, man, they're going to be scrapping their whole way out. So that's your next opponent is someone who that's all they have to play for is beating you, basically.
Yeah, and those are dangerous teams to play, especially at the end of the year. They play carefree, just want to go out there and give it their best. But I think IU has to match that same energy. We're fighting for our lives the same way. Now we're playing for a little bit more, so it should show, in the intensity and the level. Diving for loose balls, getting those extra rebounds, playing hard, playing together. I didn't get to see the whole Minnesota game, but I heard big things about Jerome. Those are little pieces right there that we just got to continue to work on and come into against these tough teams like that and just compete.
Yep, there's some great other games last night. Ohio State, Penn State. Penn State is another one of those teams that's fighting. I think they're going to get in. Well, no, I don't. I have to pull up the schedule again and look at that. But they're one of those teams that's fighting to get in, and they lose last night. But man, they gave Ohio State all they wanted. Ohio State is. I'm not. They're playing as good as Michigan right now. Maybe I don't think they're as talented as Michigan, but they're playing as well as Michigan right now. Penn State gave them all they wanted. That was a 92-82 game. That's a really high-scoring game in the Big Ten too. So Penn State's a team that is fighting to get in. Indiana doesn't play them the rest of the year, but they're fighting to get in. Man, this is a scratch and claw league. If it's ever been this year, is this one? It's like everybody's just grabbing all over the place. I just ripped my own earpiece out.
No, you're right, man. And that's the thing with it being such a loaded Big Ten. You have those 2 to 3 teams that are fighting for that last, tournament bid. So you're going to really see a lot of intensity, a lot of just, I won't say desperation play, but there's a lot of hunger and a lot of games the rest of the year.
Yeah, Tim hit us up on the Andy Mohan hotline. Noticed the women beat Michigan last night in a tough game. I think that was 70-65. Congratulations to them. Carson Wentz to the Colts, man. That's been a big topic around here. Before you joined us, I was talking that everybody had weighed in on this because he has been an option from like the beginning. And from the beginning, everybody was like, no. And yes, that's what it ended up being. And it's so everybody's now like, well, that's not what I wanted, but okay, it's God. We'll take it. But that's been kind of, as a quarterback, or an athlete, when you come into a situation like that, man, you're already coming into a situation where, boy, do you have to prove yourself right off the bat.
Man, he left, one place in Philly whose fan base is quite
Rabid,
rough.
Yeah.
It's
not exactly the city of brotherly love.
It's not no matter what they try to say. But coming into the Colts, I mean, you have a lot of expectations. You're coming into the house that Manning built. You coming off of a year where a lot of Colts fans felt they should have went even further. Rivers, even he's retired now, but he's still a heck of a quarterback. And so it's a lot of expectations, a lot of pressure. So, I hope he didn't leave Philly trying to go somewhere else thinking there's going to be less pressure because he might not have any more now. So, I'm a Bears fan, so we're used to having bad quarterbacks. So hopefully it works out for you guys.
Indianapolis is not a place that puts that kind of pressure on you normally. But for one thing, Peyton Manning kind of ruined that.
Exactly.
Set that bar kind of high. So you got that going for you. Then so they want good play. Now they expect, because it's turned into a stinking football town state. And now you got Indiana University that's really about to add to that. But the Colts have been beloved by that city specifically, but the state too. But I mean, they really have. It's amazing. It's like that they've always been here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that pressure is changing now.
It is. I mean,
which is kind of funny.
They have a defense, that's really good this year. They got the pieces there. So like you said, man, Wentz is coming into a tough situation. He is, but we'll see. We'll see how he performs.
Absolutely, it'll be fun. But they're set up good. They've got other pieces they've got to take care of too, though. So it's not just that. We'll look forward to talking to Matt Taylor next week, the voice of the Colts. He was on with us Thursday right before that news came out. I'm like, gosh darn it. I mean, as soon as we got off the air, it was like, daggone it. It always happens that way. But
right.
A lot of good games last night that you didn't get a chance to watch them, I think you said. But other games, too, that didn't get played I was looking forward to. Alabama and Texas A&M. Speaking of Alabama, Nate Oates, there are a lot of people. He's had a tremendous run. He was the coach at Buffalo. All right. I'd never heard of Buffalo. Not the city, of course, but I mean the school, because they had never achieved anything in Division I sports. They had never been ranked that I recall. And then, like the last couple of years, both the football and basketball teams were ranked. I mean, what the hell is going on in Buffalo? Well, Nate Oates was the basketball coach. I'd have to look up who the football coach was, but I'd say that they've both moved on. But Nate Oates moved to Alabama. After 2 years, they have extended him, and they're saying, we've got our guy, locking him down. The SEC doing something different right now. We're not used to that. That's a different SEC paying money for a basketball coach at Alabama.
It is, man, and it's definitely changing the way that the SEC is being looked at. Coach Barnes going to Tennessee and Kareem down in Georgia, and you got Cal at Kentucky. You're starting to bring in some high profile coaches into the SEC. And I think that's huge for the SEC. There's a lot of people don't understand. There's a lot of talent and athleticism in the South, but most of them go play football, or they come up north, maybe as high as Kentucky to play basketball. But now that you start having these coaches in different states, that's really changing what it means to play basketball in those states. I think you're going to see some different athletes come out. Anthony Edwards is one of the examples. Zion Williams is from down south. So there's a lot of just pure athletes who just, like I said, usually play football. But now when you have these different coaches coming into these big SEC programs and changing the culture there, I think you're going to see the way – you're going to see a big change in the way that the SEC plays.
Yeah, and I think that if I remember correctly, right now they're looking at getting 6 teams in. Now that's not the 9 or 10 that the Big Ten is going to get in, but that's an abnormal year for the Big Ten. Somewhere they should be somewhere. Yeah, better than it used to be. It should always be better than 6. They should always get 7, 8 teams in. Always, I think. Sure. But anyway, 6 teams for the SEC. That's a big number, man.
No, that's what I mean.
And Kentucky's not one. And Kentucky is not one of them.
Exactly. That's huge. That shows you the kind of direction it's going. You got LSU down there, who's the problem. You got with Watford, and I'm just, man, there's a lot of talent coming up out of the South. And so, I'm happy to see Oates and guys like that come into football schools and really get to change the basketball program around and make it respectable.
But we see the same thing at maybe in the Big Ten at Indiana football. Look at Indiana football now. That's put a doormat forever. Always been the doormat. That no longer. This is a top 15 program coming into next season. I'll guarantee you that. And that's amazing. But that to turn around in football, we'll talk. I've talked about it ad nauseum. It's amazing. But to see that now, that's like seeing what's going on in the SEC. It's a great balance, and it's great to see. We do have to hit a break. We've got Alec Lasley coming up next here on Indiana Sports Beat. We'll talk more about all this. We'll back after this for the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. We'll be right back. Hey, we all want more, and no one gives you more. Oh man, that just rolled so fast. How you been, man?
Good, man. Freezing right now, dude.
You and me both, man. It's 7, I think, here.
I think it's like the same here. I haven't
been anywhere.
You haven't?
I have not. I went visited my daughter on Sunday. She had her soccer banquet and her senior soccer banquet, and it was Valentine's Day. I got home that night. I have not left. I was supposed to go to the IU game Wednesday, but I couldn't I had a car issue, so I didn't get out for that. I've been nowhere. I'd already been to the store, so I was like prepared.
Yeah.
I'm good. What's up?
And I've been out and about.
It's because you're a man of the people. Verdell is a man of the people. What's up, Alec Lasley?
Not much. How you guys doing?
So, Alec, how you
Just
doing,
doing peachy. Verdell, I don't think so. Alec, you don't think Indiana and Michigan are going to make up their game?
No, I mean, if you look at it, they have a game 2 times a week here coming up until the end of the season, and right after that, they have that week-long stretch between Michigan and Purdue.
You're talking about Indiana? You're talking about Indiana?
Yeah. Indiana, yeah. So I just don't think there's not.
The only time I saw that they could do it was like immediately the day after the Michigan game.
Yeah,
they've got Nebraska playing back to back. Well, they've got they missed a lot of games though.
But if Michigan's going to probably want to make up some of those other games against some of those other teams that they haven't played yet, instead of going back to back against Indiana, and I think if anything, it'll be Michigan State just because they both have that week off. But I just don't think Michigan State's going to really want to make up a game. There's really no reason for them to do it. So I really don't think Indiana is going to make up a game. I really don't. I think they'll just have that week leading up to Purdue, and we've seen what IU's been able to do with a week off this season. So maybe they'll finally be able to break through there.
Would that hurt them, you think?
It may help them.
I don't think so.
It may help them. That's a second loss to Michigan they won't get.
Yeah.
That would make their quad ones look worse because they're 3-7, 3-8.
3-8.
Their net rankings to Michigan.
What's that?
I said it might boost their net rankings to lose to Michigan twice.
That's true because somebody lost the other day to somebody and they moved up 2 spots in the net rankings. I remember that. I posted that.
The net rankings
and the premier resort
the net rankings are trash.
That is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Feeling like a little kid, and I'm still standing after all this time.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday. Brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com joins us now. How are you doing, man?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Staying warm. Verdell staying warm. I'm trying to stay warm. It's chilly out there, but there's plenty to talk about to keep us going. Indiana, of course, taking on a Michigan State team tomorrow that is scary to me. They're missing a piece. They're just not playing like we've seen Tom Izzo teams play, but this is that time of year. I've been watching them. They're playing better, and they're within striking distance of teams, and I'm thinking they're going to knock somebody off. Of course, you don't want it to be Indiana, but man, they have nothing to play for really, but to beat somebody.
Yeah, exactly, and that's obviously sometimes the scariest thing when you're facing a team with really nothing to lose and obviously everything to gain for Michigan State. But it's obviously been one of those weird seasons for Tom Izzo. Really, no true point guard, which has been kind of the backbone of that program over the past 15 years for Tom Izzo. Obviously with Cassius Winston no longer there, they don't really have a true point guard in Rocket Watts or Foster Loyer. So they're trying to figure things out, and obviously they've been on pause for COVID a couple different times this season. So it's been difficult for them to actually gain any traction with practice time and stuff like that. So it's going to be an interesting game for sure because they are playing at a much higher level than they maybe have been over the past month or two. But at the same time, I think you just look at the overall rosters, the overall just kind of sense of urgency, and we saw how IU was able to kind of play with some sort of life against Minnesota, and we'll hope obviously they can bring that against Michigan State because it's obviously a game that they absolutely cannot lose if they still want to make it in the NCAA tournament.
And I also saw yesterday Indiana or Michigan has missed a lot of games. They've got games to make up. Michigan State has missed some games. Michigan State does not need to make those games up. So it's not relevant really. So that is not going to happen. Michigan, different story. It's not that they need to, but they're a top team, so it kind of affects them a little bit more. What are the chances of Indiana and Michigan are going to play a second game?
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen, just because if you look at Indiana's schedule, they have basically the only time you could really fit that in is the week after they play Michigan. So they have a week off between Saturdays, between that Michigan game and Purdue, to finish up the season. That's really the only time that they could possibly squeeze that in. I know Michigan obviously needs to make up a couple games, and just from what it sounds like, it's probably going to go a couple different directions in terms of really trying to get that Illinois game back on the schedule for those two teams to meet, and then potentially like a Northwestern and someone else along those lines. But for Indiana, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to not only kind of try to reschedule that Michigan game, just because they already do have them on the schedule here coming up later in the season, but also at the same time, they're not going to try to squeeze in, 3 games in 7 days like they did, a couple weeks ago, when it could potentially obviously hurt Indiana coming down the stretch. So if anything, it would potentially be a Michigan State reschedule in that last week. But just like, we talked about a few minutes ago, I don't necessarily see Michigan State really itching to get another game on their schedule here late in the season.
Yeah, and with the pressure, Verdell, that has been on, we've talked so much about, I don't think, and I'm not alone, the coaches, it's universal. Nobody wants to play the conference tournaments except the people that are putting the conference tournaments on because of the money. The coaches don't want to, and it's the most idiotic money grab I've ever seen, but it's happening. I don't think that it should be happening. I think you're putting these players at unbelievable added risk, and you're now you've got these makeup games, then you've got the conference tournament, then you've got the NCAA tournament. Are you kidding me? With COVID, I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
It is, and to me, it goes back to showing you that it's really not about the player; it's about the money. Because. I mean, I think I even saw Coach Juwan say something over at Michigan, talking about, why are we expecting our players to do this if it's about the student athlete? That's a lot of games, no matter if it's an NBA player or a college kid. It's a lot of games to go back to back on, and then go, for those teams who are, the Illinois, the Iowas, who are expected to go deep into the tournament. That's tough on them too, and. This year, I don't see what the significance of it is. You got teams who miss games, obviously. Usually you want to play in that Big Ten tournament so you can help better your resume. But even then, let's be honest, how many times has someone won the Big Ten tournament or gotten deep into the Big Ten tournament and their seeding really hasn't changed much, So I just think this year, man, it's like you said, it's about all the money right now, and it's not really fair to the players.
And then, Alec, of course, as we go forward, Indiana is a team that actually will probably need to do that, not win the tournament, of course, but I'm thinking that with the way their season ends schedule-wise, it's brutal. You look at a team like Maryland and Indiana are like mirror images of each other right now. Indiana is 7-7 in the league. Maryland 7-9. They played a few more games, but their schedule to end is vastly different. Their last 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's their last 4 games. They have to go to Rutgers. That's a tough one. Okay. But then they get Michigan State at home. They go to Northwestern, and they got to go to Maryland. Penn State. So it's a little bit easier path for them. So you got to watch that. But Indiana, on the other hand, we already talked about how their season schedule ends. And so the Big Ten tournament could be something that Indiana needs to win, possibly 2 games in.
Yeah, it'll be obviously a lot will depend how they do here in the next couple of games, obviously for more than one reason. But, you look at where they're possibly going to be seated, and it's probably going to be anywhere from, honestly, that 7 to 9 line. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot more movement unless they can potentially beat one of those, a Michigan or squeeze out a win against Purdue. It just doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot more movement for IU, just kind of the way that they really haven't been able to string together a lot of wins here. And they really, for the teams that they've only been able to play once and lost to, those teams are obviously going to have the head-to-head when it comes to the record-wise. So when it looks like IU's probably going to have that kind of 7-8 matchup potentially, and then go on to face a 1 or a 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament, and that means either potentially Michigan or Ohio State or in Illinois. And I think obviously we don't know how Indiana really truly matches up against Michigan this year since they haven't been able to face them yet. But you look at that Illinois matchup, and I think that's one for Indiana fans. If you really look at it, is probably the best case scenario, right? Just the way that they've been able to really kind of face some pretty tough both games, both at Illinois and in Bloomington. And you look at that one as a potential game that they could steal, just the way that they do match up a little bit better than maybe they do against a smaller Ohio State or just basically a powerhouse in Michigan at this point. So I think that's kind of the game that you're looking at as maybe if IU could steal that one, they're definitely going to be in at that point. But that's probably the best case scenario for Indiana. If you're looking at one of those top 3 teams that you truly want them to match up against, it's probably Illinois at this point.
Verdell?
Agreed. I think, you're watching Ohio State, right, they just don't match up well. But that Illinois game, I mean, they should have, 2 wins, really. So I think you're right. That could be a situation where it could help their resume moving forward. I still just don't. I just don't know how much the committees and stuff like that always use the Big Ten tournaments or the conference tournament. So I'm hoping that this year, because of all the cancellations, that they do in fact use those games more to help determine, the seeding for the tournament.
Well, the funny thing is, I posted something the other day, and I'll say it again. I was today years old when I found out you could actually lose a game and move up in the net rankings. So, does Indiana not getting that second game against Michigan hurt them, regardless if they would have won or lost that? Trevor brought that up.
I think you can. Yeah, I think you can look at it both ways. Obviously, like you said, we've seen teams lose games and then still move up in the net rankings. But honestly, I don't think the committee is really going to put a lot of stock into the overall resume when it comes to net rankings. Obviously, you're going to look at quad 1 wins, but I mean, outside of that, it's going to be a lot of the eye test this year because a lot of games are getting postponed. You don't really know what's going to happen in conference tournaments. And it's really just going to come down to how many probably ranked wins you have and how many quad 1s win you have. And I don't think they're really going to look too much into the actual net ranking come the end of the day. And I don't think they're necessarily going to look at necessarily how many losses they have against, even quad 2 opponents. I think you're just going to have to win as many games as you can. And at that point, it's up to the committee. But specifically about Indiana, at this point, it's just win probably 2 to 3 more games, and they should be in, right? I mean, you look at the next couple games, and they're all pretty much against tournament teams, if not already 100% in the tournament if it would start today, or pretty much locks at this point. And if Indiana is able to get 2 or 3 wins, you look at their resume, and again, you look at some of the other conferences around the country, especially the ACC, the Pac-12, 2 conferences that normally, maybe send a couple more teams than they will this year. And so, especially in a year where you don't really know a whole lot of what's going to happen come conference tournament time, I think the Big Ten's just going to continue to win out with, maybe an extra 2 teams that maybe not would have made it in another year, but just because of the way that the conference landscape kind of shapes up this year across the country, you're going to look at the Big Ten and put maybe 1 or 2 more extra teams than usual.
Absolutely. And as Indiana finishes their schedule out, I don't know where's the easiest place to find. I think they have to win 2 more games. I think they definitely have to go 2-4 on these last 4. And of course, you look at it, and no one is going to count Michigan as a potential win. It's hard to count Purdue as any even close to a potential win with how they've been playing and what is the history, what's going on with them. So with that saying, that leaves Rutgers as a team you have to beat. That's a tall order. Rutgers played great last night. They're playing for their seeding life too. Rutgers, to me, is going to be the linchpin game. At that time, it will be the most important game, possibly of the Archie Miller era.
Yeah, no, 100%. Obviously, I think you look at this Michigan State game, like we talked about, that should be a win for Indiana, especially if they're the team that we've seen play at times this season. Obviously, it looks like Indiana kind of tends to play to the level of their competition, which is obviously good but bad at the same time. But assuming they get that win, you really do look at that Rutgers game as kind of that win all be all kind of game where if they are able to win that game at Rutgers, they should soundly be in the tournament, even if they do end up losing the next 2 games and only win maybe one in the conference tournament. But I think you look at that Purdue game at the end of the season, and you look at the way Archie Miller's been able to prepare his team after a week off this season, especially. Now, granted, he hasn't been able to show that ability to beat Purdue yet in his career here at IU. But you look at a week off, and you look at. I really think the way this team was able to respond after continually being called soft and really not physical, really not tough, both mentally and physically, and the way that they were able to come out and kind of flip the narrative against Minnesota. Obviously, they have to continue to build on that, right? But the way they were able to kind of flip that narrative, if they're able to, really hone in on the fact that, they have to beat Purdue, right? It's not just a question of they can win 25 games, but if they lose 2 against Purdue every single year, a lot of IU fans are going to look at that season and be like, at some point, it's probably they'd much rather have 2 wins against Purdue than win 25, 30 games a season. So you have to beat Purdue. And I think if it's going to be at any point in Archie Miller's tenure, it's going to be the end of this season. Obviously, IU's playing a little bit better now. 3 of their last 4 games have been wins that they're able to pick up that one against Michigan State, 4 out of the last 5. And you look at a team that, is playing some of their best basketball this season. And I think you look at that Purdue game and you really, 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 if this is a team that is going to make any sort of noise or really turn the corner that we've been looking for the past 3.5, 4 seasons, that's the game that you really have to win no matter what.
Alec Lasley at thehoosier.com. What do you have coming up for the people? I know that there got to be a preview for this weekend's game, etc.
Yeah, we'll be looking obviously at Michigan State over the next 24 hours here, and then we'll have another piece up against or for Rob Fantasy. Obviously, he tended to kind of struggle over the last month, but he did play relatively well, this past game. So we'll take a look at kind of how he's hopefully, knock on wood, kind of turning the corner once again, and he can kind of play some more of his consistent basketball here down the stretch for Indiana, which will obviously be needed.
Trevor, did we miss that piece from Archie Miller clip? Did you play that coming back?
Yeah, I have it if you want.
Yeah, I thought we were playing it coming back into this segment, but go ahead and play it now. I meant to play this coming in, but we'll play it going out instead. But Alec, this is his question the other day to Archie. Did you set it up, Alec?
The one about Jerome Hunter? Yeah, so obviously, averaging 11 points in the last 3 games here since he returned from that 2-game, I guess you could call it suspension for Indiana, and obviously he's playing his best basketball probably of his Indiana career. So it's just kind of how he's able to really respond and basically be the X factor for Indiana moving forward. So asked Archie about that, and obviously this was his answer.
Since he's returned, he's playing well. He's playing very confident. He's playing very hard. He's playing very physical. And he's brought that back to practice when he's gotten his opportunities to sort of go to work. And he's playing like he's practicing right now, and he's playing to win. He's got great confidence in his shot. He's not hesitating. He's playing through mistakes. And he's given us a little bit of physicality, a little bit of ruggedness, which we need. But he's going to play a big role here for us, hopefully, down the stretch. And he can shoot the ball. He's given us an added weapon here in the last month and a half. He's shooting the ball better even than he was last year at this time. But, I think as Jerome has become a little bit more comfortable in his role, he's embraced it here recently, and he's getting some production from Northwestern to Ohio State. And now in this one, I think he's probably averaging double figures in his last 3.
There's Archie Miller. Verdell, I think that what happened over the last week was simply Archie went in, and I guarantee you just ripped. Because last week in the presser, he was basically challenged by every reporter that talked to him. They got a question in. And Kevin Brockway's on with us, asking him about his starting lineup. I asked him about not changing at halftime, that, with whatever's going on in the game, why that doesn't manifest itself into a halftime change. And I guarantee you, he went back and Todd said this too on the postgame show, but said, listen, you SOBs, I just got challenged. And so I'm telling you all, you better come out and do what you're supposed to do. I mean, what you have to do as a coach. I mean, you have to be challenged as a player sometimes. You have to be. No one knows that more than you. I mean, a coach just has to challenge your manhood sometimes, or your womanhood, whatever it is. You just have to challenge your competitive being. And sometimes it takes more than once. Sometimes it takes a season, I guess. But individual athlete is different, but he's having to reach these guys in a different way. And it showed, I guess, a little bit the other night. Don't forget, they weren't exactly playing the Celtics. Minnesota was shorthanded and had not won a single road game. But you got Jerome Hunter. I mean, he showed a little moxie. Haven't seen that from this team. I'd like to see somebody almost punch somebody in the face. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. Get that, and he's closest to what I've seen from that this season.
No, I agree. I think you're right. I think he, that pressure from the fans and from the media probably pushed Coach Miller to bring it onto his players and really challenging them. And I had made a comment about him even challenging his players in the media a few weeks ago, but I felt that they did respond. No, I'm gonna tell you firsthand, no athlete wants to be called soft.
Nobody wants to be called soft.
Nobody wants to be called soft, man. So if that's what he had to do to get those guys really riled up and respond the way that they did, then hats off to him. That's part of being a coach too. So, I hope that, the tough questions that Alec and some of the other media have asked him has really sparked a new fire and new flame under this team.
Absolutely. Alec, thanks for joining us. Make sure you follow him on Twitter and at thehoosier.com. He's got all that information there for you. Have a good weekend, brother.
Thanks, guys. Stay warm out there.
Absolutely.
Right,
we've got plenty more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer, with a 0% sales event going on right now. You can get 0% APR financing. That's never happened at Honda. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. We're back right after this. Man, there is a great clip from one of my favorite movies, Life, with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. And there's this scene, Trevor, if you could find it, Google it. It's called Life with Eddie Martin and Martin Lawrence. There is a scene where Martin Lawrence calls him soft. Soft. Don't even let your lips make a sound. Oh man! As soon as he said that, I'm like,
that's a classic scene right there.
Oh my God! It's one of my favorite movies, and that scene just jumped in my head. Don't even let you make it soft. Don't let your lips. Oh man! Why your chest all swollen up? Why you taking in all this air? Oh man! Oh God! I love that movie.
You gotta find that one. That's a classic. That's a classic clip right there.
I don't know why that movie doesn't get more play, because it is funny.
It's hilarious. It's one of the great.
I mean, damn, that to me, that's one of his funniest movies ever.
Yeah.
Trevor, if you could find that would be the find of the day.
I'm trying to find it right now.
Belongs to me. I want a
Is it where they're like lined up with
I think they're in a bar.
I'm not baby's daddy.
No, maybe no, they're not. They're trying to find the baby there. That's too late in the scene. That's too late in the movie. Were they on the road or in the bar, Verdell? I can't remember.
I want to say they were on. Hold on, let me see. I'll bring it up.
Damn, I can't remember. Were they in that chain line or were they in the bar?
Here it is. Let's see where they're at.
Just tell me like what the setting is, and I can probably find it, because there's a bunch of clips here.
It's about to pull up. Maybe. Oh yeah, they're actually outside working, and that's when they had
the chain. They're in a fight.
Yeah, they in a fight.
Yeah.
And like
they're on like a chain gang, Trevor.
Yeah.
I don't know how far it is into the movie though. There.
You know, you want them soft, motherfucker. What you say? I said you soft, so what?
Oh, I got it.
That's
I got
it.
it.
Now he did say motherfucker in that, so
Yeah.
if you,
right
if you
there.
run that, just remember to go back and or you can when he says that, turn it down real quick and then back up. You want them soft and then turn it back up. See if that works. I love that clip.
I've never seen it, so I don't know if I can time where it is.
SOF, capital T.
Number one Honda dealer, Andy Moore Honda.
Well, you'll just have to go back and edit if we have to. I
More
don't care.
means
It's too
more.
funny.
More selection, more savings.
Do that.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Oh man.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Every vow you break, every smile you fake.
Welcome back to the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's number one Honda dealer. We were talking about soft earlier, and man, that brought to mind one of my favorite movies and a favorite scene in that. Trevor hit that, man.
You know, you want them soft, motherfucker. What you say? I said you soft, so what? What you gonna do? What? Don't no man call me soft. I hate that, all right? Let me slow you down, cause I'm a man. I called you soft, first of all. Now, I don't like you swelling all up. You know, what's all this swell up shit? What's that about? What you taking in all this air for, Claude? What you feeling, huh? What's on your mind, huh? You gonna put your chin up,
Man.
huh? That mean
That's some great stuff, man. That's from the movie Life, Eddie Martin Lawrence, man. Just one of my favorite movies. And the last scene, they end up in Yankee Stadium as the closing scene for that, man. But that is, if you haven't seen that movie, you are missing it. It is freaking hilarious. Yeah, don't call no man soft, man. That's what Archie did. But he's had to do that. I don't think I think that was happened last year. I think he may have said that. But that's something a lot of veteran coaches will do. But it's funny. You've seen him call him soft, but yet when we were talking to him about the potential of change, or, why does you never changes the starting lineups? The deal is the starting lineup never changes. That's not as big a deal, but the halftime starting lineup never changes. It mirrors the first half, and it doesn't matter what's happening at the end of the half. And that was my question to him. Does what's going on the floor, whether it's by an individual or that unit, ever matter? And he says, well, we look at it, but he's basically, his philosophy is set. And I've learned it is a lot has come clear to me over these last 2 weeks of conversations with Archie Miller and what they've done. He's not going to change. He is married to his philosophy. Now, I think a lot of things is a lot of fans don't particularly like that philosophy offensively because, well, a big part of it is they're not sure what it is. And the other night against Minnesota, we saw them a little more freer, it seemed. And it was a little funner, but unfortunately, I'm wondering and concerned, was that aspect just unscripted, accidental, happened by happenstance? Because the offense just seems to be scripted. Everything is done this way because when they were not able to get out and do that, it was back to the normal and back to running the shot clock down inside of 5 seconds. And then you're kind of back to that. A Michigan State team, I'm not sure they're going to give you that many opportunities to run out, but I don't know. I was just afraid, Verdell, that the good parts of what we saw was just unscripted and accidental.
Well, I hope it's not the case. But even when we go back to the player, coaches challenging the players and all these things, one thing I will say that has to happen for a team to not be quote unquote soft is that it has to come from within the team. It has to be someone on that team that's like, all right, man, we've been challenged by the coach. We've been challenged by the media, by the fans. People think we're soft. We got to really come together and change the narrative about who we are. So I'm very interested to see. I wish I could be a fly on the wall in a lot of those, practices and in the locker room just to see who that guy in that team is. Because whoever that is, he has to continue to step up and challenge everybody. Challenge Armand, challenge Trace, challenge, whoever it is that needs that extra boost to get him going. But and now hand in hand with that is the coach's responsibility to put the players in the best position to succeed and continue to win. And to me, if you have gone, this season, even last season, and stuck so strongly to your own philosophy that it hasn't really shown much progress, then you have to be, you have to lower your ego enough to re-look and reevaluate your philosophy and see how it can be tweaked here and there to better the team. Now, I will say, Coach Miller is a prototype of every other coach. They believe in their philosophy, and they will a lot of times stick to it until the wheels fall off. But it's important that great coaches know how to stick to their philosophy and add different nuances to it that can help better their team. So, I understand what he's saying, but you also have to make a game full of adjustments. You have to make adjustments, whether it's at halftime, whether it's at the beginning of the game, whatever it is, adjustments have to be made to better the team.
Yeah, because even if you're married to your philosophy, you have to do exactly what you just said to get to that point to where you can own your philosophy, where you can actually have that kind of power. Archie Miller cannot walk into Indiana with that power. He doesn't have that. He hasn't done anything. You don't have that power, and you haven't gotten there. And this is not the A-10; it's the Big Ten, and they call it the Big Ten for a reason. So I agree with you. You didn't always have to change it, but you got to change it until you get there. You got to do what you have to do to get to where you need to get to. And that path is not one way. And because the A-10, like I just said, the path to doing that in the A-10 is completely different than doing it in the Big Ten. And I think in 4 years, I don't know that he's learned that yet, but we'll see. But I hope that they continue to go forward. Had a lot of text on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Let's see. IU is projected to play Rutgers in the second round if they play Michigan. Tim, I don't know what you're talking about there. He thinks they beat Purdue. I don't, but we'll talk about that Purdue week. Let's see. Minnesota was shorthanded. Yes, the starters played well. Yeah. Not taken away from the win. Nope. Let's see. There was one I wanted to talk about. I can't. Tim said, I think our guys are finally dialed in no matter who was on the court. That's another thing. Jerome Hunter, we've talked about that with Alec, but with you, I want to talk about it. Don Fisher's talked about this team does not have an alpha dog. The starters, and it's still on the starters, they don't have an alpha dog. I think their alpha dog is Jerome's trying to do that now, but he's a guy off the bench. I don't think your alpha dog should be a bench player. First of all, and that's not anything on Jerome. It's just that, damn it, you got 5 guys on that starting lineup that are so important to you that they start, and you don't have an alpha dog in that? You don't have a guy that's the guy that will walk up and punch somebody in the chest and say, look, I mean,
for sure.
It's a different generation, too, because another thing that I've heard 2 coaches say, Calipari and Archie, actually, in regards to the lineups, that you don't want to affect someone's confidence. That I'm like, are you effing freaking kidding me? I'm like, are you kidding me? One just, I don't care who says that. That one just, it pisses me off. I mean, I never played D1 or pro, but I played of sports my life. You get what you earn. And when you don't get it and you feel you earn it, well, you're hurting them, I think. So I don't understand that sentiment. To me, that should make them work harder.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that if you look at back in history, anytime a starter got benched, your fight or flight kicks in, and that's kind of what you want. I think it's okay every now and then to sit a person down and have someone else start and to see how they respond. And as far as the alpha dog, man, you're right. Someone in that starting lineup has to be an alpha dog, has to grab someone by the shirt and say, "Yo, we got to get this together. Let's bring it on." During my career, I was kind of alpha dog my first 3 years, and even my senior year, even though we were way more talented, I still was kind of alpha dog. Where I would, get in guys' grill and challenge them and stuff like that, and vice versa. Now, even as an alpha dog, my senior year, I came off the bench. Sometimes he would start over me, and you have to be willing to be okay with that if it's the betterment for the team. Now, if you're just worried about your own stats, your own minutes, and your own looks, then that's one thing. But if you're worried about the team winning and you see that, okay, right now as a starter, I might not be giving enough spark, out the gate, then I'm okay with coach bringing someone else in. Because at the end of the day, it's not about who starts; it's about who finishes the game. Who's in the game when the time is running down. The points are hard to come by. We need to get stops. We need talking. Who's in at that time of the game? That's who's important. So I think we overemphasize too much on who's starting instead of just who's the best lineup right now to get a quick start.
Yeah, and you never know who that's going to be because all right, I reference a lot of the early '90s teams because that was my era when I was in school. I know all those guys. I went to high school. Pat Graham and me and both went to Floyd Central. Todd's on the show. These names were some of the greats, and this was all on one team. Greg Graham, Chris Reynolds, Damon Bailey, Jamal Meeks, Matt Nover, Pat Knight, Todd Leary, Eric Anderson, Pat Graham, Brian Evans, Calbert Cheney, Alan Henderson, and Todd Lindemann. Of those names I just gave to you, which are all freaking – can you imagine that roster I just said? That's a roster, by the way. That's not an all-star team. Who's the alpha dog on that team, would you have guessed?
I want to say Calbert, Cheney, but there's so many people, there really is. You got Bailey, obviously that's an alpha right there. He's all
right. I'm not doing this is not about race or anything, but a lot of the white guys are just good old country boys. Pat Graham, we're down in the country. Right. Damon down here in the country. Not Leary. He's a city boy because he called us Hicks all the time. So he was an Indy guy. Brian was a Terre Haute guy. But you got Alan Henderson from Indianapolis. Lindemann, I don't know where he was actually from. Oh, Channing, Michigan. But Calbert from Evansville. Chris Reynolds Chris was from Illinois. But Graham, the other Greg was from Indianapolis, but Jamal Meeks. From everything I've heard from Todd, Jamal Meeks was the guy that would just and is the smallest guy on the damn team. And from everything I've heard from Todd Leary, he's the guy that would just punch you in the face, and it didn't matter who it was. And it's like, wow, you can't create that you can't teach that. That's just Jamal, man. And that's one of the reasons those teams are so good. You had that dude, and he's coaching today, and that's those kids that he's coaching. They don't know how lucky they are. I gotta get Jamal on here one Friday. Matter of fact, I'm gonna try to get him on next Friday. It's during the season, so I got to be careful with that. But absolutely, he's awesome. He's one of the funniest dudes, man. You ever talk to Jamal?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh! All right, I'm gonna start. We got to start making this happen. Introducing you to everybody you have not spoken with. That would be the coolest thing in the world. Start doing that every Friday. Jamal is awesome. He's hilarious. He's coaching at Monmouth in New Jersey. I forget who the head coach there is. It's a Duke guy, but he was definitely. And I'm not saying there weren't other alpha dogs on that team because these guys are all
right. For sure.
That team didn't really even need an alpha dog per se compared to what we're talking about here. That's a whole different level. But that's funny, yeah. But that's the guy. I mean, you gotta. I think you gotta have one of those guys. But I don't know in this generation. It's sometimes you got it and sometimes you don't, because when we're talking about coaches that are worried about players' feelings, I'm like, yikes, what are we doing here? And
that's kind of what you got to deal with. Unfortunately, that's this generation is a little bit. They're just different. Let's just say that you can't get challenged. You can't challenge someone the same way as you could back in the day. We would challenge each other all the time, and then afterward we go to Chipotle and have some lunch and laugh and kick it and do the same thing. But now people's feelings get a little bit more hurt, a little more easily, and that's unfortunate because I feel like sports is one of the last places where that shouldn't really have too much of an effect, especially when coaches want the best out of a player. If I'm challenging you because I want the best out of you, that's one thing. Now, if I'm challenging you to demean you or to put you down or to say you're lower than someone else, and that's another. But if I'm sitting here challenging you, I want us to win, I want you to perform at your best, then that should be allowed. And I think players should want that, Coach Green, he would challenge us all the time. And, at first we were like, man, shut up, but after a while we understood the method behind his madness, so it's okay to get challenged. It's okay to challenge your players. But at the same time, I have to know that you have my back as a coach too. If you're going to challenge me and rip me a new one, I better know that you're going to run through the brick wall with me too.
Absolutely. Tim thinks the players were dialed in. Mike says he hopes you're right. Scott says, good morning, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us. Another thing, Archie said that he'd like to see Hunter Thompson and TJ on the court at the same time. Well, and everybody, and Mike said, or who was it? I forget who, but everybody says that someone should remind him he's the coach and he controls that, because we've heard all year long that he'd like to see this player getting more minutes. Well, you control that. Right. But Jennifer from Evansville says Calvert wasn't an alpha dog. Yeah, he wasn't. But yeah, he was a great scorer. Think about how Luka Garza could obliterate every Big Ten record if he stayed another year because of COVID.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. We got a lot more coming up. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Verdell Jones, Jim Coyle here. We're brought to you by Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. We're back with more right after this.
Hey, we all want more. No one gives you more for less than Andy.
Man, this has just been a fun week. This has been fun. It's been going so fast. Now,
it flew by.
I wanted AJ couldn't join us again today. I forgot about the fireman. How's the fireman thing going?
It's going good. We still, February 28th is when it's released. The eligibility list is released officially. I heard they're looking. They have a few openings, three to four openings coming up. So, we'll see what happens. If I can't make this first round, then
you're making it, dude. You were 13th out of 200. Stop it. They don't even. I don't think they even look at how many are they taking.
This first round are taking 3 to 4.
Oh.
Yep, we're taking 3 to 4 the first round, and then in the summer they'll take a little bit more. So.
Oh wow! I didn't realize they were taking so few.
Yep. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but see, if they had a half a brain, and do they know the intangibles that come with you?
We'll see. I'm hoping, man.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I've been training this. I tweaked my back the other day, working out.
You tweaked it?
Just trying to rehab that back up. I'm trying to tell you, man, when you stop playing and you sit down,
when you stop doing anything,
and you try to come back, I'm talking about all those injuries from the Indiana days, my high school days, AU days. They're just creeping back up.
I'm just a dude, but my moronic brain, if I was out on a basketball court and somebody threw a ball to me, I'm going to take off and doing, or if I'm on a football field and somebody gives me a football, I'm going to go out
right.
The brain in this body does not conversate. They don't conversate, man. It's like time means nothing up here. But it comes back in a hurry. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Ooh, man, it's been unreal. So I'm feeling better again. But this past couple of months, really training has it's been tough. So
I can imagine.
Yeah. The knee flares up every now and then, which sucks. But
don't bring that up.
Yeah, I know. I won't for sure.
It'd be like a pro trade camp, man. Let me send you to die. You got to send him to an exam. We got to get him examined.
I know. Well, I have to go through the whole thing anyway, so hopefully nothing's too bad. But I should be okay.
Can you imagine that lineup I just read to you though, being on the same team? Seriously, Greg Graham, Chris Reynolds, Damon Bailey, Jamal Meeks, Matt Nover, Pat Knight, Todd Leary, Eric Anderson, Pat Graham, Brian Evans, Calbert Cheney, Alan Henderson, Todd Lindemann.
And that was a premier resort experience
fucking team
for you.
They should have won a national championship, man. They could have possibly won 2 national championships. Ted Valentine screwed them out of a national title. And then Alan Henderson's knee probably. Those were the best days of my life. Appropriate. Listen to that song, Best Days of Your Life. I was sitting there looking at a roster from the early 90s a minute ago. Man, that was a pretty good time. Jennifer from Evansville says, Cheney is my all-time favorite. But his role was not alpha dog. I sure wish he had a smooth shooter like him again, though. Yeah, he was a smooth shooting left-hander, man. Woo! On that baseline, whoo, it was over, baby. That's just
Man, when he coached with us, he used to still play with us, and he still had it. Oof, he still had it. Left hand, moves on the post, stepping out. I'm like, Cal, are you sure you retired? He's like, yeah, I'm retired, man. But his game was just he was so cerebral. He knew how to play the game. He knew where to be at. His feel for the game. It was just, he was a special talent for sure.
How was he as a coach?
I loved him. I did. He's a player's coach. He knew how to. He could see the game from a player's point of view and give us little tidbits here and there. He really worked more with the bigs and like Christian Watford and guys like that, and less with us. But he was a very cerebral mind for sure.
Having played in the NBA, he's currently coaching in the G League, I believe. Where is he? He was up in St. Louis, living in St. Louis, but I forget, where was he coaching?
He was with St. Louis the Billikens for a while. I'm not sure where he's at right now.
I forgot what G League team he's on, but someone probably will get it up before I reach it up here on Google. Where is he now? Wikipedia. That should tell you. Oh, man, you got to go through all this stuff. Come on, man. Well, somebody just hit it up on the text line and tell us where he is right now. It's hard to do all that stuff at once. I can't remember what G League team he's coaching for right now, but I don't guess anyone has updated his Wikipedia recently. So somebody should do that. But anyway, he's just
he's with Atlanta's G League team, the Skyhawks.
Oh, how about that? That's got to be fun for him. There you go. Was in Atlanta, but I thought he moved to work with the Pacers. Huh.
Yeah, he's with the Pacers now, the assistant coach.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep. Okay.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. I did not know Calvert was back in Indiana. So there's a guy we need to get on for you to talk to.
Definitely.
You've definitely talked to him. So, but that would be fun to get him on to talk to him. He's been on with us before with Todd. So good to have him on. We'll try to get him on maybe next week. But because I have Chris Denari from the voice of the Pacers joins us on Thursdays. But yeah, we'll have to get Calvert on try to get him on next week. It'd be cool. Good. I did not know he was back in Indiana. That's awesome. I know that.
That's huge.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. But it's been fun. Let's see. Someone just asked, do you ever watch the show Chicago Fire? That's perfect for you.
Yes,
that's your favorite show. Is that what got you to be a fireman? Come on.
No. But it's definitely one of the shows I used to love watching overseas. I watched all the episodes pretty much. So it's definitely one of my favorites.
Hey, I didn't expect AJ to be able to join us today, but it looks like he's going to try to do that. AJ, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, man?
We're just having fun, Verdell. We're just having fun times talking about the old days and just kicking it up.
You're right, no doubt, man. What's going on with you guys?
Just talking talk about some of the guys that Verdell has not talked to, kind of like yourself. A lot of the guys, the pods that you're doing that you have not been able to talk to before. We're just talking to Verdell about a lot of the guys he hasn't been able to talk to before, and how cool it is to get to do that. Of course, you have been doing that very thing. Your pods are so popular, as they should be, because they're unique. The people you're getting on, it's awesome. And I know you're having fun with it. And that's the most important thing, because if you're having fun, everybody else gets to have fun. Your subject has fun, and everybody is loving those things, man. But it's just been, and the variety has been great as well.
Absolutely, man. It's been a blessing. It's been real fun, like you said. It's just something that it happened organically, and I think that the people really took to it because it was a little bit from a different perspective, coming from athlete to athlete, player to player. All of us have careers and lives that run parallel, so it's been real interesting to hear our stories and how closely aligned that they really are. So I've been excited about it.
I'm not going to ask you what your favorite one is, but I'll ask you, what is who was maybe the most different? It's like, wow, I didn't really expect it to go that way. I didn't expect to learn that. Is there somebody who gave you something you just didn't expect?
I mean, not really, all similar. To put me on a spot to say, all of them were similar. I think when you talk about the most relatable ones were the ones were with Tom Coverdale and Jared Jeffries and A.J. Moye, the most natural conversation, because we all come from this kind of the same time period. But, you know, the ones with the older guys are very interesting because, you know, I never heard those stories, but I wasn't born when Quinn Buckner was playing. You know what I mean? I didn't know that his father at IU, working at IU, you know what I mean? And
I didn't know that either.
It wasn't very hard for him to, you know, commit to IU with his dad already being there. And then for that to turn into the greatest careers ever for a player. So all of them have their own special interest and intricacies of their stories, man. And I just hope people, you know, really, really dive into those, because I'm into giving these stories, because, you know, what happened with COVID and all that stuff. All these stories are important because you never know what's going to happen, and we need those stories to be out there from everybody's perspective.
And I know everybody is giving you every suggestion in the world to do, all the people to do. Earlier, Verdell and myself were talking about a comment Don Fisher had made a while back about an alpha dog on the team. This team didn't have an alpha dog. And I was talking how Jerome Hunter is trying to become that alpha dog, it seems. But anyway, I was going back. I said it's such a different generation, because we've got coaches talking about hurting players' feelings if they don't start and whatnot. And so I pulled up a roster, Indiana's roster from 91, and listed them off to Verdell and said, can you guess who you would think the alpha dog on this team would be? And first of all, the roster on this team is just sickening. Greg Graham, Chris Reynolds, Damon Bailey, Jamal Meeks, Matt Nover, Pat Knight, Todd Leary, Eric Anderson, Pat Graham, Brian Evans, Calbert Cheney, Alan Henderson, Todd Lindemann. That's a team. That's a team roster.
You're right.
But anyway, of all those great names, and there was probably actually more than one, but from my conversations with Todd Leary mainly, the alpha dog on that team, who would you have thought that it would have been?
And out of those guys, because I know Chris Reynolds' toughness, and I remember, you know, I know Greg Graham's toughness, so I don't know. To be honest with you, but me guessing, I would say Greg Graham.
I would have never gotten it either, but Jamal Meeks. I mean, Todd says he is the guy that would he'd walk up and punch you in the face if you weren't doing what you needed to do. If you weren't, he was the enforcer, and it was like, man, but it just shows you that's just something that can't be taught. It's just, and what's he doing now? He's teaching kids, man. He's at Monmouth, and that's great. He's a great teacher, and you can tell when I've talked to him, he's just a great teacher, and he's definitely somebody you're going to enjoy doing, man. He is a character on top of that, but that makes him such a fun guy. But and that shows you can be an alpha dog, but be a normal person. It's a competitive spirit.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, all those guys coming out of high school, they were number one recruits. They were the best players on their team. So most players have that in them. But you know, with that team, you know, there has so many opportunities and people to be alpha dogs, man. And that was a team that, you know, they came together. They all had one purpose, and that purpose was to win. And that's why they were successful as they were. So I'm not surprised that any one of them could have been an alpha dog.
Oh, and I can't wait. Oh, go ahead, Verdell.
Who was your guys' alpha dog, AJ?
Great question.
My alpha dog in my time, I would say, you know, from an aggressive standpoint, I would say Michael Lewis was probably the guy that, you know, that had that type of aggression in him and passion in him, that's probably, I think Dane Fife became that, but he was younger when he came to IU. He didn't play as well under Coach Knight as he did under Coach Davis, but I would say Lewis.
And both of those guys you just mentioned, both of them are on very successful coaching staffs right now. Michael Lewis is at UCLA. Big win for them last night over Arizona. Dane Fife is at Michigan State, learning under Tom Izzo. It's just ironic that those two guys you mentioned and see what they're doing right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it translates, obviously. You know, it's a passion. It's really not, you know, being an asshole or being aggressive, punching people in the face all the time. It's about your passion and your intensity and your will to want to be successful and win as a team. And not every team has that, you know, and like the 91 team, they had multiple people who had that. Chris Reynolds was a warrior in high school. People just don't know. Like, he didn't translate and become a great scorer. He was never a great scorer, but he got to Indiana by averaging like 8 points a game. So you don't do that you do that by being a dog on the floor. You know what I mean? So, it's a very important that, each team has more than one of those guys. The teams that has more than one of those guys, those are the teams that have the most success.
And a different style because everybody does not respond to the same thing.
Right. Yeah. It's a different time now. What's your Apple dog looks like today is different than what it looks like 20 years ago. So, that's one of the things I know Verdell has too. I've resigned myself to the fact that the game is just totally different, and I'm not gonna be critical of it. You got to find ways to draw that out ways as a coach now.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because last night I was watching all those games and I kind of came to the same conclusion. It is what it is. So it's time to accept it and get through this season and move forward. But we got to take a break here. But when we come back, I can't wait. Verdell's going to be a firefighter, man. To give you a chance to take that warm coat off, and we're going to talk to Verdell about Chicago FD Fire Department, man. A.J. Guyton, Verdell Jones with us. We're back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hey, we all want more, and no one gives you more for less.
I know you're burning up with that coat on.
No, it's not hot in here. I had to run home to be a part of it because it doesn't work at my job.
So, I'm sorry, man.
So the link does. They have it blocked. Kids don't want kids on the internet and on YouTube and all that. So certain things they have blocked, they can't.
Man, I guarantee that I'm going to get 10 texts about that coat. Where can I get that jacket? Somebody wore something the other day, and I'm like, oh, it was Charlie Miller. He's on with me on Mondays. Was wearing just a shirt, and like, where I need that shirt. I need it. Boy, anytime anybody wears anything, I'm like, that's team issue, man. That's team issue. I'm sure Adidas will sell it to you though. How have you been, AJ?
Oh, I'm good, man. It's really picking up back with sports. It's a little harder to do a lot of the things that I was doing. So, man, I'm trying to balance it and keep it all going, man. But it's tough.
Yeah, you're out and getting it, man. I mean, you're a busy man. Every time you're always rolling. Got these pods going. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just cool, man. It's just something fun to do. Like I said, I didn't expect it to have, any type of success that it did. I thought it'd be cool, but, now people are looking forward to it. I'm like, uh-oh. I don't know what I'm gonna do now. They looking forward.
Pressure's on. Pressure's on. That's why I said you got to slow down. I was like, man, you got to slow down. I was like, but you'll never run out of. People. It's just thinking of them. That's what like I'll get off of a show. I'm like, God dang it, why didn't I ask that guy? Because there's so many. Just start writing stuff down. You got to start keeping a list. If the one comes to your head, put it on a list somewhere.
You got to think about those 27 years Bob Knight coach. You know what I mean?
You go through the roster.
And the managers, people want to hear that stuff. So, you just got.
Dale's going to be all gray beard and still doing these pods and has not done the second one yet. Will not have gone through a second one yet. He'll be all gray bearded.
Yeah. Teams and it's just so many ways you can go, but you're right. I had to slow down a little bit. I'm like, I told them, I think I got maybe like 20 out. And
you got more than anybody.
Yeah, but I'm like, but it's generating, and that's how you generate the fans.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Trust me, I know. That's what we talked about early on. I was like, boom, just keep it at it.
Out there, I'm like, I don't know with this pace. That's every, and I'm talking to them like, hey man, this ends after the season, right? Like,
world-class golfing and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat. It's coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. It is still cold, man. What's it like where you're probably just north of Verdell, I assume, right?
Yep, I'm in Peoria, man. It's cold. It's 5 or 6 degrees. It actually was burning up yesterday. It was 25.
Yeah, it was blistering. And something I meant to say earlier to the folks, I didn't, in regards to Archie. Archie's not going anywhere. So just stop talking about that. It's time. I'm not even going to talk. I'm not talking about it anymore. It's focus on the end of the season and let that stuff be what it is, man. This team has a chance to work their way into the tournament. They've got to win games. We talked about it earlier, AJ. I think they have to win their next 2 games because the 2 games after that are extraordinarily challenging, I would say.
Definitely, you gotta put yourself in position about winning games, man. And it's all even. They have an opportunity to do it. They got to go out there and try to provide and show some consistency. It seems like they win 2, lose 2, win 2, lose 2, and they got to break that cycle and put a nice little win streak together.
Verdell's going to be a fireman. Well, eventually, he was 13th out of 200 applicants. So he said they're only taking a couple. He's not sure he's going to get through this round, but I've got confidence that he will. But I said they're missing out on his talents, man. He's going to end up being the spokesman for the fire department. He's the guy.
Right. So how did this come about, Verdell? What's up? What's going on, man?
And he's recruiting people, and he recruited his brother and his best friend. Don't leave that out.
Man, many people don't know that. Like before, obviously I played basketball, but my childhood dream was to be a pro athlete, to be a firefighter, to be a pilot. Those are the 3 things I always wanted to do.
Right.
And so when I retired, man, it really I got to reset and really think about what I want to do next. I started my youth program here in town. I started helping locally with their people here and there. And I was like, I just need to do. I want to do something I can do all the time. Where I can always serve the community. And actually, my middle school basketball coach is a lieutenant here at the fire department. And then, so we got to talking one day, and it's got the rapping back and forth. And he was like, "Man, that was one of your dreams. Why don't you just do it now?" So, all right, well, I went through the whole process. So I went through the process, and then last week they came out with the preliminary list, and I was 13th. And so I kind of got excited, man. And I like Jim was saying, I recruited my brother to try to come out and be part of it.
Yeah.
My teammates, my first year overseas in Greece, a guy named Darren Williams, he played at UIC. Recruited him to be a part of it. So I'm 13th, he's 14th on the list. So we'll see what happens, man. But it was, like I said, it was a childhood dream. And I just, like I told Jim before, man, I felt that when I retired from playing basketball, that it was my time to serve my community and give back to the community to help give me all the opportunities to go travel the world, to play basketball, and to do the things that I got to do. So I just kind of be I won't say a role model, but just someone that some of the younger guys can look up to and say, hey, he grew up in the same neighborhood I grew up from. He's doing all these different things, So just wanted to be kind of be a help to the community, man.
Yeah, man. That was definitely. Sorry, Jim. It felt like my for a minute. Let me turn it back over to you.
No, it is yours. When you're on, it is. I'm just going to say you better not hang out with him too long.
Right. Yeah.
Get you recruited too.
Firefighter, but I'm always impressed by people who they feel is right, not what everybody else think they should do. And that's definitely a way to service the community at all times and just be a person that something kids can look up to in school. So hey, man, fabulous. You went. So what happened to the mayor thing? Is that done? Like what's
the mayor thing? So I know that's still something that I'm very intrigued and still doing. The current mayor, her donor actually blocked my
They're scared of him.
And the reasoning was I hadn't lived in the city of Urbana long enough. So I was like too much short of the technical date or whatever. So it's all timing is everything, right? So I understand that maybe right now isn't my timing. So I still want to serve the community and do other things. You said what?
Went and found a technicality.
Man, they came and got
me. Scared of him. I'm telling you, they're scared of him.
On the last day, 2 hours before the deadline, I get a phone call.
Dang.
The last day. So
he's like, we found it. We got it.
Yeah. They were searching, man. And they ended up getting it. But, it really, to me, it backfired on them because it really created more of a support group in the city that really pushing me to go that direction. So, man, I'm excited, man. Like I said, it's a whole different kind of feeling on this side of basketball, right? Because now you're like, okay, I don't have to to get myself ready in 2 years to be recruited by a college, or I don't have to get my body ready for training camp coming up. Now it's like, all right, I have time to look ahead and plan out my life. And, and it's a weird feeling. It's a different feeling, but I'm excited about it. I am.
Verdell is one of the most impressive people that I have, or he is the most impressive person that I get to talk to on a regular basis, because laying out dreams like that as a kid, but actually following through on those dreams, who actually has the capability to do that. I didn't. I wish I did, but that alone is impressive. But the community thing, the mayor, he's not doing it for glory. He's doing it because he wants to help his community. Right. And his community is so lucky. Oh, man. And when he gets to run and he wins the next time, because he's going to kick the crap out of these people that found that technicality, because that's how it's going to backfire on them right there. But they're going to be so much better off there. And I think that they have to know that and see that. And golly, he's going to be a fireman in their community. All he's doing is helping them. He's just a winner. He's just a winner in life. And your community is so lucky to have you, man.
Well, I appreciate it. And, I got some people that reached out to do articles and stuff, and I've been hesitant about it because I'm not trying to, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm not here to try to make a big name or to be in the newspaper. Even with the whole mayor situation, I really didn't tweet or talking about it because I didn't, I got a lot of Indiana love support, but I'm not doing it for Indiana. I'm doing it for my hometown. So I really try to keep it grassroots and local. And I'm like I said, man, I've had that fame. I've had the cheers and all those things. And to me, it's all vain. It's empty. As soon as you play a bad game, it's booze. You know what I mean? So, I'm not doing it for that anymore. I'm really doing it because our young people, especially, they're in a kind of a disadvantage that a lot of other generations haven't had. So I'm just really trying to help them, man.
Absolutely.
It's spectacular. Tim does have a great idea, though. We need to get Verdell a guest shot on Chicago Fire.
I would love that. That'd be so dope.
Somebody's got to get a connection there, man. I have to find out who produces that show, something, get that going. That would be if they found out about the connection, I promise you that's something they'd probably do with you. Yeah. We got to make that happen, man. That would be something. AJ, what's up next for you, man?
Hey, man, I just finished the pod with Quinn Buckner. I don't know if you got a chance to check that out, man. It was awesome. Quinn doesn't do a lot of them, man, and so I'm going to let that hang out there for a little bit before we get to the next one. He was very, very informative, and I think his story is one that, that people need to hear, mainly because, it's a whole generation of people who don't even know, a whole generation of Hoosier fans who don't even know who Quinn Buckner is, and the opportunity to
sad
reintroduce him and reintroduce them and all those guys who would like to, speak up and talk a little bit to the Hoosier faithful, man, is an honor for me, man. So I suggest everybody go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, YouTube, and check that one out because it's one that's on fire.
Yeah. What was it like for you to talk to the floor general of the last team that went undefeated to win a national championship?
Man, it was surprisingly easy, man. Quinn he's a very easygoing guy, man, and he likes to talk, and he's
what he does for a living now.
Yeah, he talks for a living, that, and he's very articulate, very, very, very family oriented, which I found out. Related everything back to his parents. Very, very speaks very highly of Coach Knight. Obviously, one of the few guys that was able to break. I call it the break the code of Coach Knight. Get close to him, be a friend to him as a former player. A lot of those championship guys were able to do that and share a perspective of him that most people haven't seen. So man, he was very, very, very candid about his time at IU and his time with Larry Bird in the NBA. Like this guy literally never lost. And I asked him, that's the first question I asked him. Like, man, did you ever lose that? Do you know what that feel like to take L? High school championship, gold medalist, NBA championship, undefeated. 37 game win streak in the Big Ten. Didn't lose a game for 2 years in the Big. Come on, man. What?
That's fair.
I think it was so awesome just to hear him talk about that from a humble perspective. It wasn't no arrogance to it. I remember I asked him, I said, so what was the toughest place you played in the Big Ten? And he was like, he just kind of smiled hey man, we didn't lose a game in the Big Ten. Oh man, you got that humble arrogance. I didn't even start laughing, but that was the truth. It was like, dang, he didn't lose. What kind of question is that? He ain't lose.
That's right.
Almost about that too. Got lucky. He talked about being lucky to be undefeated. So man, check that out.
I thought he would say Assembly Hall was the toughest place they played that year.
He did say Assembly Hall. That's what he started first. He said Assembly Hall was the toughest place to play. But he was like, well, shoot, we won 37 in a row. So I can't say. But he didn't that were tough. But it was obvious. The proof is in the pudding, man.
That's man. Every one of they're all great, but of course some of them are probably better than others just because you learn things that you didn't know, and it never surprises me when I'm like, wow, really? I didn't know that.
Right.
But man, they're awesome, and thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. Appreciate you so much as always, man. I hope you have a great and a warmer weekend. Verdell, how's the new baby, AJ?
She's doing good, man. She'll be 3 months tomorrow. So starting to get more sleep, starting to develop it, just eating and drinking and doing the other thing too.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they do, man. Verdell, your great weekend coming up. Hope what you got coming up?
Just trying to relax a little bit. We finished most of our renovations on the house, so that's I'm happy about that. Thankfully.
Honeydew list is done, AJ.
Yes, man. Yes. So,
but he was working out. He's been working out for a fireman deal. He says he's old. He's all tweaked up. He said,
"Right, dude, I feel all those old injuries from the Big Ten, from high school, AU. It's all coming back."
Heck, man.
I hope you guys have an incredible weekend. I can never thank you enough. Appreciate you so much. Go out and have a good one. Appreciate you guys. And for the rest of you all, thank you so much. Go out, do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask continued. And until Saturday after the game, I'll see you on the radio. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. Thank you, Verdell. Thank you. Appreciate you so much.
No problem. Have a good one, Jim.
You too, buddy.